we wanted to get a little bit into some fantasy outlook. Obviously it's just game one, so you can't make everything about this game. But there were some players I would say that, had some question marks going into this game. And you also had some players that, that are supposed to be picked in the early rounds, right? So I wanted to get into a couple different players, but we can start with Javonte Williams. I think he had the biggest question mark going into this game because you really didn't know his role. You knew he was going to be the starter for Dallas, but you didn't know if he was going to carry the ball a lot, if he was going to share a lot of time. But what did you see out of him tonight?
Yeah, he's going to be one of these guys that's typical where he could be touchdown reliant or dependent in terms of like if you're going to get some production fantasy wise. He got 54 yards, 15 carries, not amazing, but for him, it was probably decent. But they got it down to the 2 times in a row. And unlike Philly, when the Cowboys do get it down there, Dak's mobile. It's not like he can't move around, but they're not going to really use him like a Josh Allen, like a Jalen Hurts, right? And so you got to figure he's going to probably get, as long as he's healthy, he's going to get his fair share of touchdowns. But I don't think he's going to catch really a ton of balls or anything like that. In fact, did he even have any receptions? Okay, he had 2. And so obviously if you're in a PPR league, things like that nature, probably wouldn't be a great play. But yeah, I think week after week, if he does not score a touchdown, you're not going to get much out of him. What are your thoughts on Javonte?
Yeah, my main thoughts was he going to be on the field a lot, and that's what you saw.
Yeah,
You saw he was on the field the majority of the time.
he was.
15 carries to 4 carries from Sanders. I'll take that every day if you have him on your bench.
Right.
But you just don't know if you're going to get these big explosive plays out of him. I don't know if he still has that after coming off ACL surgery because he hasn't really shown that since he's been back from his ACL a couple years ago. So that's the only thing I would say. That'd be his handicap, right? Like, is he going to have games where he gets 100 yards and a TD or 2? And like you said, I don't think he's going to be a big pass catching back. He'll be probably more of the runner, and Miles Sanders would be more the pass catching back. Now, Miles Sanders did have a terrible fumble. So you know what happens
Game changing.
when players fumble, and especially game changing fumbles, they usually will be in the doghouse. So does that mean next game Javonte Williams might have more carries? Probably. And then they also have the rookie. Didn't really see the field tonight, but Jordan Blue, which they've talked a little, hyped him up a little bit. But I think for the first half of the season, they're gonna try to ride Javonte as much as possible and see what they got out of him.
Yeah, Miles Sanders, that was a big fumble. That was at least at minimum a 3-point fumble because they were definitely in field goal range. And so that's when you lose by 4, it's a big 3 points, right? Because you can play offensively a little different when all you got to do is make a field goal to potentially win it. So that was huge, and that's something that coaches always remember. Like if he has another fumble or something of that sort, you can pretty much probably say, night, and he's not going to play much. But he also didn't carry the ball too much today at 4 carries versus the 15. So yeah, for those that have Javonte Williams, it is a good sign that he got the bulk load of carries tonight.
Yeah, for sure. All right, now let's break down some receivers here, right? We have a pair of receivers that probably went in obviously the first round and second round. We got CD Lamb and your boy A.G. Brown.
Killed me tonight.
Now, CD, I'll go straight into him because I feel like you expect what you saw tonight. You expect him to get the ball a lot of targets. He's going to catch a lot of passes. He's always in the hundreds, yardage and receptions usually. Throughout for a season, he's usually in the receptions. He can get past 100 easily, right? So I think that's a positive out of there. Now, the drops, you don't want to see him dropping balls, but I think that had to do a lot with some of those were pretty difficult catches. Like the last one, he had a dive, right? The second one, you had another player kind of running underneath them. So I think that kind of distracted him a little bit. But overall, I mean, if you get 7 catches, 110 yards, you're going to be happy in most leagues. Yes, you want to get the TDs, but there were no passing TDs tonight. Now, Eric, what you thinking of A.J. Brown?
Yeah, I mean, before that, yeah, CD Lamb, yeah, 13 targets. I mean, you know what you're going to get. He's going to be high volume, dropped a few balls, and probably, like as I said earlier, would have had even more more on the stat side. But yeah, man, AJ Brown said so. He had 1 catch. Not only had 1 catch, he had 1 target. So he caught the 1 target that he had. And so, yeah, we'll see. Like, for me, I have him in one of my leagues. It's definitely frustrating. He's obviously picked like somewhat high, and you really need more production than that. And he'll probably be the first to tell the Eagles and Jalen Hurts that he needs to be involved more. And so, I wouldn't look for him to be this guy that's going to catch a ton of balls. He's only caught 100 balls once in his career, so it's not that, but it's the kind of big play. It's the touchdowns. That's where you're going to get the most out of AJ Brown. So I wouldn't lose too much patience yet. And only week 1, he was a little banged up coming in. Right. So that could have had something to do with it. I talked about Diggs kind of really being all over him from kind of what I was watching. And so that has a factor, but it's the NFL. You're going to play against good DBs. You got to make things happen. So I wouldn't push the panic button on him, but as an owner of AJ Brown, I mean, you just cannot have a game where he just has 1 catch for 8 yards.
Yeah, no,
it's tough. It happens, but usually doesn't happen first game of the season. Everybody watching, the bright lights, and yeah, so it was a tough one out there for sure.
Yeah, my thing always has been with AJ Brown and the Eagles is they are a running team, and Jalen Hurts likes to run. And yes, will he be their best receiver in the year? 100%. But you're going to have games where he has 1 or 2 catches, and you might have a stretch where he has 3 games where he doesn't even total 100 yards, right? And then you start to hear him chirp, 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 and then maybe he starts to get the ball a little bit more, right? Like kind of like what happened last year. And they won the Super Bowl, so they know the recipe is there, and I don't think he's going to complain about not getting the ball. But for fantasy purposes, you want him to get the damn ball. So, also wanted to point out with CD Lamb, I think having Pickens on the other side is going to free him up a lot more. So I think he's going to have. To me, he's a top 3 receiver for sure this year, and he could be 1 or 2 by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, just taking a step back, I think if the Eagles really need to make a pass play, I feel Hurts has a little bit more trust in like a Dallas, Goddard versus AJ. Like that's just kind of his security blanket, and so that's why he's sometimes not. He's gonna just have those games, unfortunately, and so he'll have some big ones too, though. Just kind of hope that it's a few more big ones than not. And I think CD is a shoo-in for a top 3 as long as he stays healthy. This is just kind of a start of a great season. You're going to throw in some touchdowns in there as well. And I anticipate that's an obvious, guarantee roster spot every game he plays, doesn't matter who they're playing against.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when we get into quarterbacks, anything surprise you there with Dak or Jalen Hurts? And then also is Dak going to be a playable quarterback, like QB1 that you can trust? Or he's going to be like, well, if I need a spot start, he's my guy.
Yeah, he's shown that he's been more of a spot start guy. He's had a couple really like good seasons that have translated to on the fantasy side as well, So 2021, for example, 37 touchdowns, about 4,500 yards passing. 2023, 36 touchdowns, 4,500 yards. He's almost at the point where it's like every other year, to be honest. Part of it is injuries too. So I think he's he's a guy you want to keep an eye on. You know, if you see the first few games, you're like, damn, actually he's putting up some numbers. You might want to, store him on your bench just for a spot start when one of your quarterback has a bye, or if you see a stretch of a couple of games where you think he can go and do work. But I would feel comfortable seeing it for a few games. Like today, right? He had a pretty good game, a solid game, right? He didn't throw any interceptions, but if you look at it, 188 yards, no touchdowns. That's just not going to get it done fantasy wise. And so, yeah, for me, it's a wait and see because he has that kind of up and down, it seems like, from year to year. So last year was down because of injuries and things. So maybe it's up this year.
Yeah, I definitely is a wait and see. I think he could potentially be like the buy low candidate. Like if you have a struggle at the quarterback position, like for the first couple of weeks of the season, and you
Yep.
don't really have that top dog, I think you could probably get him for cheap even right now after this game, and he
Yep.
can be like a legit quarterback for you. So if you're out there right now and you can maybe bait somebody to kind of give you Dak Prescott out for maybe one of your bench players, I think that might be a possibility if you needed a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it hurts to have him there just in case, don't let anybody else, be the benefactor of him having a few great games all of a sudden and he gets picked up. So, yeah, it's not one of these things like, hey, you got to start him week 2 or anything like that. Home against the Giants, right? It could be something you might want to flirt with, but I would, again, just kind of wait and see how he does the next couple of games.
Yeah, definitely. And Jalen Hurts, I mean, he is who we thought
He's,
he is.
yeah,
Like
he's going to be
he's
solid.
Mr. Consistency. You're going to get 20 to 30 fantasy points from him probably every game, and it's going to come in a lot of rushing TDs. Like he had last year, he had 14, and then this
Jeez.
year he's already started off with 2, right? So he's going to probably total 30 something touchdowns with passing and rushing. And it's going to get you a good amount of consistent fantasy points from your quarterback position.
Yeah, and he plays it safe, right? So he's not going to throw a bunch of picks. He's not going to hurt you turnover wise. And so yeah, if I would feel good if I drafted him, a game like tonight is just a Jalen Hurts kind of game. Rush for 50, 60 yards, pass for 100 and something, get a couple rushing touchdowns. You'll basically take that anytime.
Yeah,